Hey everybody, this is Meredith Lego, and I'm doing some videos on Ascension science, which really is about the ascension of our consciousness and how it is that we continue to evolve our consciousness more into higher states. And I've learned a lot along the way, and I've been trying to share them through the many videos that I've done. But the way that I get my information is essentially by connecting with extra dimensional beings who obviously we can't see in this, physical world. But yeah, essentially a lot of them are, just in different planes or dimensions of consciousness, and have been able to learn quite a bit from them on the kind of mechanics of how this works, as well as just general life lessons that can help us continue to expand our consciousness along the way and work on healing ourselves as well, just as human beings and as individual souls. And there was a period of time that I was kind of curious about the whole channeling process, like how does that work? And this particular video gets into that, and it's pretty interesting because it does touch upon the whole concept of frequencies. And as part of the process, I also asked about how it is that, so within the whole construct of sort of consciousness, there's the concept as well of like free will, and free will of thought, as well as sort of kind of the common good, or it could be sort of centralization of thought or centralization of consciousness. In this particular case, I was asking specifically about the concept of the hive mind, because those are very two different extremes. Completely free will choice versus sort of hive mind. And I've done some other videos on the past around sort of centralization or decentralization, but it's just another extreme of like polar opposite energies. And I did ask about that question, but it had to do in the frame of because I was learning about kind of channeling and the frequencies that go into that. So I didn't have a question starting it off because it's kind of what was on my mind as I was meditating and starting to write down what I was receiving. And that's the general theme that it goes into. So the first information that I got actually had to do with radios. And the reason being is that early days when I started to meditate, early in the morning, and I was starting to hear clairaudiently, I would actually start to hear radio signals, which is just another form of energy at a certain frequency. And by then I had already started to hear other beings here and there, but I found it fascinating that I was actually tuning into radio frequencies, which is odd, especially when I picked up like a Hispanic station or something like that, really random, and then some other stations as well. So this particular message was that radios work by transmitting and receiving electromagnetic waves. The radio signal is an electronic current moving back and forth very quickly, and the receiver picks up the field and translates it into the sounds heard through the radio. Humans are the same. You can tune into an electromagnetic frequency or channel, and that's essentially what channeling is. So you're just tuning into an electromagnetic frequency or a channel. Every being has a different, unique electromagnetic frequency, and by creating an intention to tune into that frequency, you can. The more you quiet your mind and sense the input coming in, the more you can translate the information coming in. The translation may occur in many different ways. And while he doesn't go, the Ascended Master Hilarion, who I got this information in, doesn't go into the many ways that the information can come in. I'll just kind of ad lib here. So people tend to learn or process information just in natural life in like our 3D world. And they learn in many different ways. Some people are audio, some people are visual, some people feel a little bit more. And so oftentimes, similarly, when higher sensory perceptions start to tune in a little bit more, so to speak, you can be taking in information clairvoyantly, which means you might be seeing images in your mind's eye through your third eye. You can be taking in energy impulses clairaudiently, which means you might be hearing it telepathically. You can be clairsentience, which means you're feeling the energy all around your body, or empathically. So there's all these different forms in terms of how the energy is coming to you, or how others might be communicating to you. And so what he's basically saying is that, it's kind of like you're a receiver, almost like a radio, in the sense that you're receiving electromagnetic waves, and actually could be sending them out, because obviously we're sending out our own electrical waves all the time in everyday life. And when you do that, what he said is that a radio signal is essentially an electronic current moving back and forth, and the receiver picks up the field and translates it. And so that's all we are, is we're a translator of energy. And, the body is a lens through which that energy then essentially unfolds. So that background was important, because it then correlates to the question that I asked, which is, why is there a desire to create a hive mind? Because it does correlate to frequencies that are all around us. And so the answer is, the hive mind is a contagious, one contagious through the direction and action directed or controlled from a central source. Beings living in this station of identity have very limited emotional body footprints. Most beings can feel an impulse from source consciousness, but some beings, originating from many other universes and consciousness, have lost their connection to source and run all activities from the ego mental body. They are automatons or clones or drones, actioning the will of those setting the direction. Hive mind programming is occurring on your planet and in your timeline now. Low energy directed frequencies emanating from your electronic devices and TVs are the primary source of frequency and programming. As such, it's critical to maintain your boundary as a sovereign being and avoid groupthink that is not in alignment with your inner truth, to the law of one, or in service to free will choices. It's kind of interesting, because on the one hand, the way that I interpreted the first paragraph is that, you've got some beings that are tuned into source consciousness, which means, really you're just attuned into all the different energies that are out there, and you feel connected to all of it. So in other words, when you're connected, you're more empathic to all of it, because it's part of you. And then there are some beings that have lost that connection, and as a result, they're more directed from their ego mental bodies, and can be more directed into sort of programming, if you will, because they might be, picking up more the lower directed frequencies, and it might be kind of controlling or manipulating them a little bit more. A lot of these frequencies, they're saying, can come in many forms, but obviously here they reference the electronic devices and the TVs as being a primary source for frequency and programming. And that obviously, you have free will choice to do what you want, but if it's not in alignment to your inner truth, that's, obviously you're kind of breaking your own alignment, and you're allowing yourself to be swayed and influenced by the masses, maybe because of fear. But essentially, you really need to avoid groupthink and align with your inner truth. And then they say align to the law of one, which is essentially recognition that, everything is one, and therefore to kind of sort of be kind of respectful of that understanding, and then be in service to others in free will choice. Then he goes on to say, set your own frequencies, your own intentions. be mindful of the programming you feed your four bodies, which is your mental, your physical, your emotional, and your etheric. If they if they constrict your body, create fear, uncertainty, doubt, anxiety, hatred, division, judgment, they are being sourced from energies not in alignment with God's source or unity consciousness. So I think what he's essentially saying here is that, you obviously have a choice of what energies to surround yourself in and to pay attention to, and to allow to influence you. But just be mindful of what energy soup you're placing your bodies into. And if in any way you sort of feel constricted in your body, because that can cause your DNA to start shriveling up and you're not as open. And that's where you can actually create blockages. Anytime you feel that fear, that uncertainty, hatred, division, they could be energies that are coming at you, because what this is implicitly implying is that God's source or unity consciousness does not do that. It's opening, it's loving, it's it doesn't do those things essentially. And that is an energy frequency again. So God's source unity consciousness is an energy frequency, and they, when you're in that frequency, it's the opposite of those other feelings. So if that's the case, be mindful of that, the source of these kind of lower frequencies coming at you. And now, one of the things that didn't come up in the channeling session, but I thought would be interesting to share, and I've learned this along the way, in my exploratory process, but they actually came from other humans, not necessarily from extra dimensional beings. But the concept when I first learned about TV was that it originally was first originated to, and you kind of think about the word television, TV, television. It's literally tell a vision. And so again, that's sort of a directed intention that's sort of being told on what vision. The producer of the message is hoping that you'll, take away. And obviously I'm telling you a vision here. So I think while television is out there, it's great, it's entertaining. I could be providing you interesting information that maybe you resonate with. But again, the most important thing is be discerning to what is true to you and always stick true to that. Another interesting thing about the whole world of, TV is the concept of broadcasting. So you've got, broadcasting, which is essentially broad spell casting. And then you have different, obviously different types of frequencies that you can tune into. Even when you're channeling, like, what I'm doing and connecting with these beings, or when you're watching the TV or turning radio stations, or, clicking onto different YouTube sites, there are different channels. And a channel is nothing more than a frequency type. So literally when you're tuning the radio knob, you are turning it to different hertz, I think it is, if memory calls. I haven't played with a radio in a long time, but you're doing that. You are literally tuning into different wavelength frequencies, or different channels of energetic frequency. And what was the definition that we learned about in the beginning? Yeah, it's a signal of electronic current moving back and forth very quickly. And so, these frequencies, they can be high frequency, low frequency. They're all on different channels. So, and then they all present different programs or programming that can occur with your mental body and your emotional body. Again, so do you want high programming or low programming, lower frequency programming? And I think, this is implicitly, saying that we've got so many different choices out there. Just be mindful of what the energetic soup, so to speak, that you're surrounding your body in. And So I thought that was an interesting session because it obviously got into the mechanics of what's going on, and it was likened to a radio itself in terms of how it works to kind of translate frequencies, and the fact that our human bodies are exactly the same. So we're energy translators and we have lenses to do that. And obviously being a radio, not like a radio, but because we have the ability to translate these frequencies, we also have the choice of what we put into our body, and how we're programmed, what information we take in. And the whole point is to really be true to your own source frequency, which is your higher self. And that is the hard part. And that is really the challenge for all of us, is that we're surrounded in a world of all these variety of frequencies, and we need to stay true to our core. And, when we do that, we ultimately start to work on healing our blockages and, doing all those things that can help us with gaining higher expansion of our consciousness. So with that, I hope, again, this continues to help you with your understanding, like it's been helping me. And I will continue to see you in some future videos. Thanks very much. Have a good evening. Bye.